Well, Ryan, I guess we're here to talk about 2.0 and how it came to be for starters.
Let's start off with.
Well, first of all, myself was. I met your daddy, and we were just talking. I don't know if we got that on film, but we were just talking about where we met and how we met and all that. And when I was a young man, I grew up at the racetrack. Racing was my passion. I hate to say this, all my friends chased girls, drank beer. I listened to motors and went racing. You know what I mean? It was just what I loved. It was my thing. January 1st, 1987 is when Tac Racecraft actually became a business. Before that, I worked for a Florida Austin dealer. I always liked fabricating. We were talking before. I really like cars and everything, but before I really got into what I do, I really like fabricating. Anytime I can pick up a torch or pick up a saw and make something, I was making it. That stems from my dad. Give him a hacksaw and a hammer and he'll fucking make it. He'll make anything. But getting back to my story, I worked for, before I started Tac Racecraft, I worked for Global Coach and Armor, which was owned by Mike Senia, which was an Austin dealer. Started there in, I think, 1983. Because in 1983, Mike had a Pro Stock car. And I was fortunate enough to drive it a few times.
What kind of car was it? It
was a 83 Eldorado. If you remember, we had it at the Gator Nationals.
Okay.
I remember. When I worked there, I wanted to be the best I could be. I think we crossed that path, but there was so much stuff that I took off on myself. Once I was there, we were Austin dealer, but we also got into selling kits. Once we got into selling kits, I drew all the blueprints for all the cars. I designed all the cars. It's not that I guess I probably did have an ego. I say I don't, but I probably do. I probably still do it today. You don't see that side of yourself.
Well,
but it's what made me who I was then, and it's what drives me even today to be the best that I can be. Now from 83 to 86, 86, I worked for Mike Senia at Global.
So for Global race cars, you can still find a lot of Global race cars still out there today at the track,
right?
That were built in the late 80s, early 90s,
and they were probably built by me. Like I say, we're reminiscing, so the stories that are coming to my head are crazy. First of all, I'm the kind of guy that I'm going to be the best that I can be. Okay? And I had to prove that to you, everybody out there at the racetrack, how good I was. You're talking about, in 1983, I was 23 years old. I was some kid that was whipped behind the ears, and all the men that raced looked at me like, what are you doing, kid? Well, I had something to prove.
Sure.
I had to prove to them how good I was, and how, no matter if it was taking a bolt out, or welding its long, or building a trailer, or whatever it was, I did the best I could do to prove to them guys that this. And whenever I had something to offer, or I had something to show them, you damn right I put it in their face and showed them. January 1st, 1987 is when I actually started Tac Racecraft.
That was in Winter Park?
No.
No?
Started in Sanford.
Okay.
I actually had a place I had a house that was a two-story house, and under there I had a 3-car garage that I made, and that was my shop. I hired, me and 2 other people worked there, had chassis jigs and everything. And yeah, the neighbors called on me because I was working in race cars. And the code enforcement come up to me one day and stopped, and I said, yes, can I help you, sir? He says, well, I got a complaint that you run the business and over here and doing this and that. I said, okay. I said, if that's what they want to think that, I says, this is my hobby, man. I said, you tell me, and I asked the code enforcement, I said, you tell me when my hobby starts and my job ends.
question.
He looked at me, turned around and said, "Have a good day, Mr. Takash." Never seen him again. Because it's my hobby. I mean, you tell me what hours I work, which is a business, and I won't work that time.
When you're passionate about something, you put in the hours, whether it's a job or not.
You can turn a hobby into a job, and you can turn a job into a hobby.
Yeah, but after that day, that guy never, I mean, the neighbor never talked to me again, which I don't care. And the code enforcement guy never came back. Never came back. You know, it was a legit business. I had my business license. I had everything that I needed. I wasn't trying, you know, I paid my taxes and I paid sales tax. I did everything there was to do there. But anyway, 1987, I had my business, and right where my house was right where the expansion of 417 came through Sanford and took me out. Took me out.
Okay. So
at that point there, I had to do something. That's when I ended up moving to Winter Park. But Winter Park, I bought a place in Geneva, bought acreage out there, and my intentions were to build a shop like I had at the house, build the house. Yep. So my overhead was low. Go to Winter Park, and the guy that had the warehouse, I told him I'm only going to be here 6, 8, 10 months. You know, 10 years later.
Yeah. So if I recall, because I think I was maybe all this tall at that point, that was over right as the underpass for the railroad tracks.
Correct.
Where the Ford, kind of catty corner to the Ford dealership.
You turn left.
Behind Winter Park Dodge.
Behind Winter Park Dodge. Yeah, I was there for...
Dingman Brothers.
The Dingman Brothers were crossed. Dingman Brothers raced out of that, you know, where I was, right after, before I was there, that whole row was race cars. Mm-hmm. That was called Race Car Row. Every shop had a race car shop in it. And it's slowly, you know, nothing ever stays the same. But I was there from 87 to 2010. How many years is that? 11. 2011.
It's 23 years?
Yeah, a lot of years right there. Yeah, you know, started out that I'm only going to be here for a couple months, so I built a house. Well, I liked it. I like Winter Park.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the drive from Geneva to there because it ain't what it is today. And
well, the nice thing too is you kind of get to separate home life
from work,
actual work.
Absolutely.
So,
but I built a lot of nice cars there. I mean, I sent cars to Aruba, sent cars to Germany.
What's your most memorable build out of Tac Racecraft?
Well, when I was in Sanford as Tac Racecraft, I built 23T that were the nicest cars out there. Even today, they were built just like a comp car. You know, I just loved building something unique. I wasn't just a straight put a tubing knot. I think I had tubing that twisted and did this and that. For one reason, because it looked cool, but another reason, I challenged myself that much that these cars had to look this way. The way the four links were welded into cars wasn't your standard put a pipe, weld a four link to it.
Right.
I made the four link bracket a structural cross member in the car. Had a cross member, and then that was a cross member in the four link, and then it all branched off from there.
Gotcha.
A lot like we do today on the door cars. Mm-hmm. The door cars, we don't put any bars in front of the four link no more. It's tied top and bottom. It's actual cross member. But it stems from me way back then. Most memorable car out of Tac Racecraft. Holy cow.
57 Pro.
The 57 Pro Street car was cool.
Yeah.
It was not my most memorable. I mean, it was cool.
That was a cool ride.
I'm thinking 93 Grand Prix. Steve Combs' car.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You know, back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, back then, Pro stocks were steel roof and quarters. They're not carbon fiber like today.
Yep. And
that was a steel roof and quarter, funny car cage, strut front end, four link. It was the bad of the bad at that time.
Yeah. I remember that.
You know what I mean? And it's still around. I have built cars that people have crashed. Never died in them, but they tore them to pieces. And but I guess I guess the pudding is that they're still here. You know?
Exactly. That's
That's credible that they got out and walked away.
Right.
You know, that's something to say.
Absolutely. Then I got into dragster building. We did that for a few years. I think I built 10 dragsters, which here at 2.0 we're going to get back into that. I think that's a good market.
You guys are on number 2 right now.
Number
Right? We'll
2.
show you guys some footage of the number 2 build here. To
Yeah,
show
we're
you.
still getting into, I'm still talking about Takash.
Yes.
How about the jet truck? Remember the jet truck? Somewhere I got footage. We fired that thing up out in the street. Aimed it down the street where all the car lots were. It took every bit of sand on the road and put it down there in the Ford parking lot. Burner pops, the whole thing. I just knew I was going to jail that night. But the policeman never showed up.
See what a little
Surprisingly.
bit of alcohol will do.
God, man, that was a memorable build too.
Yeah.
That one there was first time. Whenever I was building that truck, all chrome moly, jet engine. I never had anything like that before, so I asked a lot of questions in the jet car market, and they kept bragging. This guy who was driving the car kept bragging how many jet cars he's crashed. Well, I should have been a fucking clue. First pass. I'm just going to take it easy. It leaves afterburner. I'm thinking, oh my God. And here's another one. I built a a funny bike, turbocharged.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I didn't know about that.
I built, and that was like one of the first 6-second motorcycles. I built shit I wouldn't ride. I built shit I wouldn't ride. You know, when I was in Winter Park, he mentioned, Mr. Deere out there mentioned Dingman Racing. Billy Dingman, Richie Dingman, they owned a Volvo store. They owned a Valvoline store. They ran IHRA Pro Stock. I was a part of that team in the early days. And got to rub elbows. You know, you read about Jerry Haas and Don Ness and all them people when you're a kid, and you, oh man,
Yeah.
and you're out there racing amongst them and rubbing elbows and talking to them and sharing stories and sharing information. It's a great place to be. And then after them years, we got into the dragsters. That was when the market was like going south. Not the market, but our economy was going south.
Yeah.
Racers are racers, always going to be racers. And at that time, I had a lovely bride that got in my ear and wanted me to become a regular person. So I thought, well, let me try it. So I closed Tac Racecraft and went to work for another company and was a fabricating manager. Because when I was hired at this place, I'm not going to say the name.
Those of you who know, you know. Those of you who don't, you don't.
Correct. But they said, there's your shop. I said, wow, there was nothing. It was just a shop. It had old work tables that weren't no good, so I cut them up and made smaller tables. You know, I said, where's my area? Give me my square footage. And I put everything in place to make money for my boss. And that's just what you do, you know what I mean? I'm not a kind of guy that just sits around and don't do nothing. By far, I'm not a lazy person. I'm getting older, I'm getting tired, but I'm still not lazy. After we did that for 11 years, me and that fellow, we parted ways, or that company parted ways. And my partner here, John Thomas, at 2.0 Racecars. The 2.0 comes into play as two guys, Tim and John. Also play on 2.0 second time around. So it's however you want to look at it. You know, and I'm getting up there in age, and I want to teach people how to do this kind of stuff. And I won't be here forever. I know that. That's one reason why we didn't use the Takash name again. I mean, hopefully this business will carry on and surpass me.
Right.
You know, the whole idea of this when me and John sat down and talked, we want to go into production on dragsters and C7 Corvette super gas type roadsters, and like 67 super gas type roadsters.
Mm-hmm.
Reason being, all new. New metal, new body, new rod ends, new. Well, it didn't work out really well because I was gone so long from the business, and when people realized that I was starting up again, the phone ain't stopped ringing, man. I mean, I had no idea that our drag race market needed a good chassis shop.
It's needed it for
A number of years.
11 years when I was
yes.
gone.
But to be honest with you, yeah.
You know, but I mean, I'm sure there's, I don't mean to, I'm sure there's plenty of guys out there that are good, okay? Everybody's got their niche. But I guess the people that follow me, we're just waiting. It's what drives people. I mean, like I say, I've got a strong will to be the best, even today. You know, I might be hard sometimes on the guys that work for me, but I want them to be the best they can be. I want them to produce the best product they can. The thing is I don't like to shortcut nothing.
Right.
If you have to do something you don't like to get to the right finished product, go right through it and go do it.
Yep.
I mean, don't try to beat around the bush. Don't try to hem haw, and because you know what's going to happen? You're going to go around that. You're going to have to come back and cut that shit out.
Mm-hmm.
Seen it too many times.
Yeah.
So now we're at 2.0 now. What kind of builds you guys got going on right now?
Well, right now, obviously, I got your 6.0 card on the table.
Yep.
Very green right now. I've got another 850. When we're talking 6.0, 850, there's different specs that are affiliated with ET that you go drag racing. Most people that are watching this will know that, but I got a 850, like a 65 Mustang in the works. I've got Montgomery Motorsports car to build. It's a C7 Corvette. We just picking up a dragster from Powder Coat on Thursday. Got number 2 on the table. We would have had more dragsters other than we first started this business. John Siegel with the Wheelie Wagon came to us, and we worked our butt off.
For those of you who haven't seen that build, it's quality. Beautiful build. I don't think he could have picked a prettier color red.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah, that's John Siegel.
So if you guys definitely go to the 2.0 Racecars page, because there's a bunch of photos and uploads and stages of that build. That's a gorgeous build, by the way.
So, and you know, it's a great way to start a new business with the popularity of that car. But out there in the shop, we've got Mia Price, which is a Tedesco, which is they own that new fuel company. The pro mod of Jericho Baldorf.
Yep, this is a Chevelle has been in
The
the shop.
Chevelle, both of them, his NHRA car and his PDRA car. We work on Alan Drinkwater, his PDRA Pro Stock car. He's a very talented driver. The first time I watched that kid go down the racetrack, I said, this kid's got it. You know, you just know.
Absolutely.
You just know everything he did. Do a burnout, clear the motor out, set up to the line, get us together. He just had it. So when he won the championship for PDRA, it wasn't a surprise to me. Glad for him. But I knew back then, I said, man, this kid can drive.
We've got a lot of the history with Takash Racecraft covered and global, where you started. Let's kind of narrow it back, and we've got a lot of history with you in the Chevelle.
Oh man.
So
more stuff out of my ears.
I can remember one of the first times when it rolled in there, the seat wasn't in it, the steering wasn't done, the motor sitting in it, transmission, and Tim looks at me and goes, what the fuck are you doing?
And it was a little bit of cash and some trade for some work, basically.
Yeah.
Brought it home. Came to Tim to start. Well, it was originally just front halving the car.
Yeah.
And to be able to come in and say, hey, listen, I understand what you're trying to accomplish here, but let's really break this down for a minute and think about what we're doing.
Right.
And in the long run, the only thing that you're looking out for your customers to make sure that
Safety.
well, not only safety is making sure that they're getting a quality piece at the end of the day.
Yeah. Safety, you know.
Yeah, now that turned into a 6.0,
And
and
then
basically, I tell everybody it's basically going to be like a no prep king car.
Right.
You know, it'll be the same
And then
quality, same,
then
able to put the same horsepower they put to it.
Yeah.
You've had your hands on the Chevelle previous in life.
Yes.
So you set up, I think you did the steering column on the car.
The
back
steering
there,
column,
brake
headers,
pedal, headers. Cool thing too is this was right before you started 2.0. We called Tim and said, Tim, look, we're having issues with this car going straight. Well, just reacting to the new horsepower that we
Right.
put into it. Tim came over willingly, even sat down and showed me how to scale out the car, make sure the rear end's straight in it, make sure that housing angle, pinion angle is set where it needs to be. You can't buy that kind of knowledge.
Goes from years and years.
You can't buy that knowledge. And it was just so cool to watch you literally just kind of turn a bar and watch the whole chassis, the way you had it set up on the jack stands and everything like that, and just watch the whole way the chassis react to just a quarter turn, a half a turn, and explain exactly
That's the thing. I
what
like
we're
to
doing.
explain. Yeah.
Explain what you're
Sometimes,
doing.
whenever we set up a car for somebody and they're here standing, and I explain to them, I know it's a lot to take in because they brought it to me because they don't understand it, but I still like to try to explain to them what I'm doing.
So you guys are not only doing just chassis stuff, you are willing to go out and do track days,
Yes, we do.
chassis tuning.
Chassis tuning. We do quite a few, even here in the shop.
Yep.
And you know, people come from all over for us to set up the chassis.
So what are the futures for 2.0 as of right now? I know you said just I remember, you know, going back just a little bit ago, you said you want this to still be here
After I'm gone.
after you're gone. So for anybody out there, this isn't just an overnight deal at 2.0. 2.0 does plan to be here for a while.
For a long time. Even
So-
after I'm gone, I want, like I say, anybody that works for me, I want them to be the best they can be. Sometimes I might be a little hard to get along with, but I demand quality out of myself and whoever's working for me, and I want to teach them everything that I know.
Yes.
I mean, from chassis tuning to building the rear end to pressing an axle bearing on. I want them guy, whoever's out there, to know how to do it all.
Right. That should kind of cover everything.
Awesome.
So we appreciate your time. We
We'll talk
appreciate
again.
2.0. We will be covering more because we're going to be doing a whole build video on the Chevelle.
Right.
So you'll be seeing more of this man right here
We'll talk more.
as we go through the different stages and steps on the Chevelle build. And then obviously if you guys have any questions or anything, comment below with any questions. We'll get it to Tim, make sure it gets answered. What's the phone number for here?
386-507-2025.
2025. Cool.
2025.
And you guys are in DeLand, Florida now?
DeLand, Florida. Actually, the building that we're in, we lease from FTI. We're right next door to FTI Transmissions.
Yep.
Pretty convenient for them, pretty convenient for us.
So we're talking what? 2 weeks, Chevelle's gonna be done?
Sure. Let's speed that thrill up.
Yeah.
Turn that off.
Turn that off. I might be able to with this thing.
Messed up my schedule because I had people.
Turn that damn thing off.
I did. I thought I did. I thought I did.
First pass, the fella crashed it.
You too.
Really? God, sorry.
You're good.
I'll get you later. Let me turn this thing off. Sorry. Sorry.
Not sorry.